Let's talk about Sam Rockwell's monologue on this week's episode of The White Lotus. So I've definitely seen a lot of reactions to the monologue, and it's interesting because I think that the gender portion of it is taking up a lot of the sort of analysis where I do think, obviously, the gender identity stuff is very important. I'm not trans. I cannot speak for that part of the experience. My trans sisters can. But for me, I think that this was less about the gender identity aspect of it and more about the way that we need to consume and own and the very, very dominant mode of masculinity that's presented to us through this season, right? So at the end of the first episode, they very clearly tell us identity is a prison, right? They were sort of setting up what the season was going to be about. I said that a lot of the characters were in Thailand specifically to seek out other aspects of being, other modes of being, whether that be through wellness or yoga or the spa or pills. This was later made manifest in episode 4, or when they were doing the hide and seek thing, where they said people come to Thailand to hide or to seek, right? They specifically called out the different characters on the season who are seeking to become different versions of themselves, different parts of themselves to become something new. In American culture, one of the easiest ways that we understand becoming or transforming or changing is through spending, consumption, and ownership, right? A lot of people will say, I can't afford to start a new hobby because I have to buy a violin and I have to buy the sheet music and I have to buy this. Or a lot of our conceptions of what it means to live a new life are I'm going to buy all new outfits to go to the gym and then I'm going to be healthy and then I'm going to be beautiful, right? It is so ingrained in our society that the very first step to having a new identity and to becoming something new is to buy it, is to own it, is to dominate it. It is a very American and Western mode of presenting and being, right? That instead of him getting to the realization that he wanted to be one of these Asian girls, he had to have them first, right? He had to have as many of them as he could, and it turned into a whole thing before he could actually realize that what he actually wanted was on the other side of this journey. But the journey had to involve owning, right? It had to involve dominating. It had to involve taking down as many of these girls as possible before he could realize that he wasn't actually embarking on the journey he thought he was embarking on. He wasn't actually going anywhere. He was just doing this thing, and it wasn't filling the void within him, which again is a commentary for what I feel a lot of the other characters will realize. Jacqueline is not going to suddenly be 20 years younger, right? Lori is not going to suddenly be happy. Victoria and the Ratliffs aren't suddenly going to be transformed by the end of this. In the first episode, I talked about how Timothy and Rick were foils for each other, right? They're both representations of traditional American masculinity, whereas Timothy is upstanding and he does everything right. He is the more loose character where he's smoking, he's more loosey-goosey, he's doing his own thing, but it's still a very legible character. I did another video in this playlist where I talked about how this character has been seen a bunch of times, especially with the young girlfriend, where we are trained to identify with the sort of shitty guy who secretly loves his girlfriend even though he treats her like shit. Sam Rockwell's character, when you take away the gender identity portion of it, is just another version of these characters where they're contrasting the dominant modes of masculinity, where again it is a very Western imperial colonialist idea that to become something you need to take it, right? You need to own it, you need to dominate it, you need to take down as many of these things as possible before you can finally conceive of the actual grain of the idea. He had to fully dominate as many of these poor, I feel bad just saying Asian girl over and over again, right? But it's specifically a thing, so you can't not say it, that he had to take down as many of these Asian girls as possible before he could even conceive of the idea that he was actually, struggling with his gender in that way. And even then, I don't know if he's an egg, I don't know if he's a doll, but he still is seeking something because he is now sober. He's doing all of these journeys. He's meditating. He is still the caricature of the Western person going to Thailand to heal themselves and absolve themselves and become something else, right? I don't know where he is. I don't know if he's actually going to end up transitioning. Good luck, sister. But at the end of the day, he's still embarking on the same wellness journey that a lot of people take up when they go to Thailand and when they go to these places because they think that the place is going to transform them. He's been on a lot of the journey, but he's still not fully understanding his place in it. And just in case I get the bean soup comments, I'm not doubting his gender journey. I'm not doubting his gender identity. All I'm saying is that he is still taking these roundabout ways of becoming a stereotypical Western person in Thailand because he's still going through all of these things that we have seen time and time again that people think will heal them and fix them and transform them without actually addressing the problem. Hooking up with girls and booze and all of that other stuff is just a symptom of the actual spiritual rot that, again, I talked about in the first episode.